Servants of the Emperor, Briggso here, and in this video we're going over a Psyker build in Warhammer 40k Darktide. Yes, that's right, I'm finally going over an Assail Psyker build. This build really pushes the offensive capabilities that Psykers have, and Assail is amazingly good at taking out hordes, gunners, and rages. Before we jump into this video though, if I could just ask that you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel, apparently you'll get that god roll that you've been looking for. I'm not liable if you don't get that god roll that you're looking for. Another little fact about me as well is that I use a gamepad to control all my games, especially first-person shooters. The reason that I do this is because I don't find a keyboard very ergonomic, especially for my stubby little fingers. Now I've been using this gamepad for quite a while, however it's got a couple of shortcomings and I decided that it was finally time for an upgrade. And that's when I did some research and I found a company called Azeron. Azeron make gamepads that look like this, and yes, I know they look absolutely insane. I did take a break over the weekend to get used to this thing, however because I've used a gamepad before, it was very easy for me to adapt. I've got to give big props to Azeron as they sent out mine relatively quickly, and I did ping them an email saying that I'd mention them if they could send it out any earlier. That other gamepad that I had was breaking, so they really did me a favour by sending this over quite quickly. This is not a sponsor by any means, however I fully endorse them because they are very good. A massive thanks to Azeron, but otherwise let's get into the video. So last month I made my Void Bowler Psyker build. There was a bit of an option there that we could have taken Assail instead of Brain Rupture. The main reason that we took Brain Rupture though is so that we could get Kinetic Flare. In this build however, we are going full Assail, so that means that we're going to change around a couple of things, but essentially this is a variation of the Void Bowler build that I made not too long ago. Now I've been waffling for way too long, so let's go to the weapons, check out the Curios, and then we'll go through the talent tree. So for our primary melee weapon, we're choosing the Macabian Mark IV Dueling Sword, and I'm pairing this with Riposte and Precognition. The main reason we're doing this is because we are going to be taking the talent Empathic Evasion. It means that every single time that we get a critical hit, we count as dodging for 1 second, and then Riposte and Precognition both activate at this time. Riposte gives us up to a 20% critical hit chance for 6 seconds when we do a successful dodge, and Precognition gives us 60% finesse damage for 2 seconds on a successful dodge. Riposte will help activate Empathic Evasion, which then activates Riposte and Precognition once again, so it's an infinite cycle. For perks, I have a plus 5% melee critical hit chance to get the train rolling quicker, and then the second perk I have a plus 8% melee critical hit damage because we're getting critical hits quite a lot. For our secondary ranged weapon, we're taking the Equinox Mark IV Void Strike Force Staff, and on this one I have the Blessing Surge and Warp Flurry. Surge hits twice whenever we get a critical hit, and Warp Flurry decreases our charge time on our secondary attack. We are going to be using Assail for most of our range damage, however when we're out of Assail shards this is a very good option to switch to that can benefit from a lot of the talents that we're going to be taking. For Curios, I take a Health Curio and 2 Toughness Curios, and I put any combination of plus 5% Toughness, Combat Ability Regen, Stamina Regen, and also Toughness Recovery Speed. But feel free to pick what you want to fit your playstyle. I did run a Wound Curio for a little while on this and I didn't suffer too badly, however I believe that having more Toughness in general helps us out a lot better. Now let's go through the talents. So first of all, I take our Toughness Recovery package of Soul Stealer, Quietude, and Metal. Soul Stealer replenishes 7.5% toughness on a warp attack kill, Quietude replenishes 5% toughness for each 10% of peril quelled, and Metal replenishes 5% of our toughness on critical hits, which happens a lot with our dueling sword. Metal also grants us plus 5% movement speed for 4 seconds and it stacks 3 times. Moving down from here though, we then take Battle Meditation, which has a 10% chance to quell 10% peril on a kill. We do rack up a lot of peril in this build, so this helps us out to cool us off. From here we take Perfect Timing, which gives us plus 3% warp damage for 10 seconds on a critical hit, and this stacks 5 times. Once again, this is very helpful for upping our warp damage because we get crits quite a lot in this build. Moving down from here I take 2 plus 15 toughness boosts, as it's needed to help our survivability in the build. And then going down the tree further, we then take Assail. Like I said before, Assail is our main way of taking down hordes, but it's also very useful for taking out snipers, ragers, and gunners very effectively. We can spam the light attack button to send out a lot of these things very quickly, but we do need to take into account the amount of peril that we're generating, as we don't want to push ourselves over the edge and have an accident. Paired with Assail, we're also taking Ethereal Shards, which means that our projectiles can pierce additional targets. And then we also take Quick Shards, which means that they replenish 30% faster. Moving on from here though, we then take a plus 5% toughness damage reduction, and then gain Mind in Motion. Mind in Motion means that we don't have a penalty to our movement speed when we're quelling peril, which can be extremely useful to get into cover after we've sent out a lot of Assail shards. From here we move down and we take Inspiring Presence, which gives us plus 10% toughness replenishment for you and your allies in coherency. And then move down to our aura, which is Seer's Presence. Seer's Presence gives us plus 10% cooldown reduction on abilities for you and your allies, which is extremely helpful to keep more uptime on your shield, which I'll cover later. After this we take take a talent I've already talked through, which is Empathic Evasion, and this helps our dueling sword to activate both of its blessings. We then move on to take one with the Warp, which gives us toughness damage reduction up to 33% based on our current level of peril. We then take a -5 peril generation before moving on to our shield. I take the Dome variant of the shield and I pair it with Sanctuary. Now I've covered the shield in great detail in this channel before, but basically we put down a dome which replenishes our toughness and gives us a safe space to operate in when we need to. This acts as our toughness on demand for this build, and is extremely useful to combat ranged enemies when we're trying to take down a horde in front of us. Moving on from here though, we then take 2 operative modifiers, which is going to be a +10% health boost and a +5% critical hit chance boost. Going down the right hand side of the tree we take Kinetic Deflection. Unfortunately we don't make the most of Kinetic Deflection as we're using a dueling sword. However, if we had a Force sword on with Deflector, this would come in very useful. The main reason we're taking this is so we can move down the tree to get a +5% movement speed and then take True Aim. True Aim reads landing 5 weak spot hits grant your next ranged attack to be a guaranteed critical, and this works for both our Void Strike staff and our Assail. The dueling sword also lets us rack up weak spot hits where we're aiming for heads in the middle of a horde. So overall this has very good synergy with the build as it interacts with the 3 main things that we want to be using, being the Assail, the dueling sword, and the Void Strike staff. Moving on from here though, we then take Warp Rider, which gives us +20% damage from all sources based on our current level of peril. This almost works like the Unstable Power blessing, but it applies to everything in our arsenal. Moving on though, we then take our third +15 toughness boost, and then grab our keystone, which is going to be Empowered Psionics. Empowered Psionics means that we have a 7.5% chance when we kill an enemy to get a stack of Empowered Psionics. With that stack and combined with Assail, it means that we get 100% peril cost reduction and our base damage is increased from 100 to 150. Also, when we throw out one of our Assail shards and we have Empowered Psionics, it does not consume any charges of them, making it very useful to throw out more shards of Assail. To pair with this, we also take Overpowering Souls, which means that we get a guaranteed chance to gain Empowered Psionics on elite kills. As there are a lot of elite enemies in Auric Damnation level missions, this comes in extremely useful, but not as useful as our next keystone modifier, which is Charged Up, which means that we can now have 3 stacks of Empowered Psionics. This means that when we do have 3 stacks of Empowered Psionics, we have 3 free shards to throw out, all of which that do more damage. So that rounds out this Assail Psyker build. I'm now going to jump into some gameplay footage to show you it in action. If you're jumping out of the video here, then thank you very much for watching, and if I could just ask that you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel, then I would be truly appreciative. But anyway, let's roll the gameplay footage of me using this build in an Auric Damnation mission. There's been some drama recently. I think it was in the comments of my last video as I mentioned Tanner Lindberg, and yeah, I saw a couple of people saying that he copies a lot of people's builds and stuff like that, and I don't know, for me, I just think that there is no such thing as like build ownership. If anything, all of the build ownership goes to Fat Shark, as they were the people that made builds possible, but I don't think we should get precious of builds. You know what, we should share them. You know, if it's a good build, let's share them. I will always try and credit someone for the build if I, you know, have got inspiration from them for this build. Otherwise, you know, a lot of players are going to have similar ideas on what is good. You know, even this Psyker build, for example, if you're building an Assail Psyker, a lot of people are going to kind of come to the same conclusion about this kind of build, maybe slightly different variations here and there. But that doesn't mean that we're copying builds off one another. We just so happen to be content creators that want to cover these builds. So, you know, it's one of those things. If someone does want me to cover a build of theirs, then absolutely I will give them full credit. But otherwise, I don't think we should be precious of it, really. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into this. We're already getting a lot of stuff chucked our way. Just using kind of Assail to deal with most stuff. Assail can be pretty brainless because we can just swap to it, and then we can send an Assail up that way. In fact, me and that guy kind of tag teamed that with our Assail builds. He's also using Assail, which is very cool, actually. Gonna be a lot of shards flying. It's a lot of gunners. Need to keep in mind my peril here.
Out of my head.
In fact, there's a couple of gunners over here as well. Right, we're now out of Assail shards, so we're going to swap over to this. Yeah, I quite like having the faster charge rate on this staff. I was using the critical one, but actually to be able to charge it up faster and do more damage that way and rely less on the crits makes it a little bit more reliable, which I like quite a lot. I'm going to go down here. We cannot get to him at this current time though, so we're just going to back away, use our Assail, take off some pressure. get back in here. Get these rages. Swap over to this. The only thing about the Dueling Sword that I wish you could do is Quell Peril without. It's just a bit of a learning thing that you've got to do. I've used the Elyssi so much that I'm just kind of used to it doing that, but... Jump into it here. Right, we're going to take pressure off by using Assail to take out this Horde. We're just going to confront the Horde, because we're not very good as a monstrosity killer. So, we're going to let everyone else deal with that, and we'll deal with the Horde. Sounds like a better plan to me. Although...
Impressive work, siblings. Terminate that monstrosity.
That guy didn't get roughed up too much while we were taking out that Horde. Quite like the aimed mode of Sail as well. It can be really good against like that single target. You are still kind of throwing 2 shards, but just kind of have the guarantee that you're going to be hitting that one target. It really helps out. Oh dear. That's not good. Right, we need to back away from this. Just kind of have to let them die, unfortunately, and then we have to revive them. We don't have any Ogrins to tank it. We have no way of good damage against monstrosities, so it's just me and Golda now to Assail Psykers. Well, there could be a third Assail Psyker, actually, but who knows. No one called for a boom. Get out of here. Me and him, we're both on it. We're like, we hear you. We hear you. Ah. Now this is going to be a problem. It's a Plague Goblin as well. This is going to be very hard. We might want to have to plan a... I'm just going to have to get in with this sword a little bit. Our staff. Right, he's gone. Nice. Oh, that was a slog. Not helpful with all these arranged peeps around us. Is that most of the sword done? So I think we've got to go around this way. Yeah. Yeah, you are correct there, sir. Just got to be so careful of that demon host, man. That is another downside of using Assail. Could very easily just throw one shard its way, and then we are screwed. Okay, back up to full power. Hope this mutant doesn't come and take us down. No, we're good. So Assail, not the best for getting through maulers, but not the worst either. So, however, our stab heavy attacks with the Dueling Sword, very good. Getting through all kinds of stuff. Good little poke damage you get. Cool. Alright, nicely done. Of course, the best option to get through maulers and stuff like that is definitely the Void Strike Staff. Really, really, really good. Just because it staggers them, and then it kind of opens you up to get a clean headshot on them. I've not actually tested that properly, but it seems like the Dueling Sword is very, very good for kind of doing heavy attacks against like maulers and things like that. It does feel like a good option. I know I was saying about the Void Strike Staff, but actually, you know what? There's quite a lot of chip damage to him, which is quite nice. Just kind of gut shot. Because I think we're pretty good against flak. And yeah.
Elimination sanction. Tracking. Tracking.
I can't talk about Carapace, but hello? Uh-oh. Am I in this door or am I not? I don't really know what's happening here. Hey. Easy there, sir.
Target.
Okay, we're going this way. What the dog doing? I was like, where is he gone? What? Hang on. Wait, what? I was going to say, do I die here? No, I don't. I live another day. Yeah, those unarmored guys, they're probably the worst thing to go against with the dueling sword. Because look here, I'm just not doing a lot of damage to them with our light attacks. So you kind of got a heavy attack, or we just swap to Assail and we take them all out. So that was probably a bit of a tip for this build. Is, yeah, just if you see those unarmored guys, the scabs, not the scabs, the dregs, just dreg melee guys, just use Assail on him. Normally works out a lot better. Alright, GG's. So yeah, did go down, was unfortunate, you know, I think having an extra wound could offset that, but we did take down that monstrosity, just me and that other guy, so it was very good. Goldor doing massive damage with his Percutus staff. But I think with our the Void Strike staff, it does work a little bit better just to kind of get through crushes and things like that. The Percutus staff is just good for taking down lots of you know, smaller enemies. In fact, lesser enemies killed, he got 811, which is probably where a lot of his damage is coming from. Not to take away from his build though, fantastic, really, really good, but I think we've achieved what we want to with our build, which is to take down a lot of the disablers, the big specials, things like that. So once again, very happy with this build. But yeah, if you like this video, then please like it, and please consider subscribing to the channel. It does mean the absolute world to me. But if you made it this far, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.